Yes. Okay. Thank you. It's a good question. Okay. So let me, I'll say a few things. So we were talking about yesterday with the three, okay, first let me start with a sutra quotation, okay? From the Samadhi Raja Sutra, it says that, now after you've received this very, if someone who has received very precious medicine, right, does not take it and therefore is not healed, right, it is not the fault of the doctor, it is not the fault of the medicine, the fault lies with the patient himself, right? Similarly, after having received the precious elixir of Dharma, if you do not put it into practice and therefore do not reach the results of liberation and enlightenment, the fault is not with the Buddha, the fault is not with the Dharma, the fault is with you. Okay? Alright. You all got that?
Yes.
Alright. So, what we were talking about, the three types of wisdom arising from listening, wisdom arising from contemplation, and the wisdom arising from meditation, yeah? There's a big risk that we can become very, so focused on just the study, right? And then, I feel I'm at big risk of this down in the monastery, right? We study all these very complicated, just very vast and extensive texts, right? And in it, there's like the 173, divisions of Namjong, whatever that is. Anyway, there's like the 173 of this, and then there's the 37 of that, and there's all these divisions, all these definitions, and any kind of thing we know all like the facts about, right? But whether that does something to benefit our minds, right? Because the point of Dharma is to decrease the afflictive emotions and get the positive emotions up, right? So although you can say all these things and quote all the sutras by heart, right? If you haven't done anything to, subdue the mind by applying antidotes to the afflictive emotions when they come up, then the Dharma actually hasn't had much benefit to you. And in fact, there's a big risk that then the medicine itself can become poison, whereby you think, okay, I'm a Buddhist scholar, okay, and I don't know your this woman, so I'm not saying anything bad about her. I don't know, but I could think, right? Oh yes, I'm now this professor. I have all these books published, and then whatever, like I'm so good, right? And then you think you don't have any more work to do, right? Isn't it? This is a big mistake. It's a big mistake. But what I'm saying is, this isn't a fault of the Dharma, but it's a fault of an individual who isn't putting the Dharma into practice, although they have studied so much. You know what I'm saying? Right? And so actually, in many of the treatises, they talk about the qualities of a Dharma student. And to actually be a qualified Dharma student, one needs to have, humility. We were talking about this yesterday. This kind of arrogance, like I know it all. I was saying, this person who comes in Bangalore to the center, he comes and says, I have the same level of realization as Shakyamuni Buddha. Then what are you going to do? Yeah? So, sorry, I'm going to just say my bias. Okay, maybe turn the camera off. No, I'm joking. I'm half joking. Okay, I'm not criticizing anyone. This is a joke, okay? Okay. I went to Princeton, okay? All right. So Harvard's like the rival. So we always used to say, you know, okay, the difference between a Harvard student and a Princeton student, okay? The Harvard student and the Princeton student, they both know it all. But the Harvard student wants you to know that they know it all. Yeah. Whereas like, you know, the Harvard student, it's like in the first like meeting you have with them, they just somehow make the conversation go and like it'll make it slip out that they've gone to Harvard. Do you know what I mean?
Within a minute, yeah.
Yeah, within a minute. It's
That's
like,
true.
yeah, isn't it, huh?
My nephew went to Stanford
Yeah.
and Chicago and
Yeah.
Yale and Harvard, but you never hear it from him
Yeah.
or from us.
Yeah, yeah,
But I let you know at once that she went to Harvard because we always knew that.
yeah. So it's a little, I'm not criticizing, it's a great institution, you know, but there's this is what I'm saying for all of us to be aware of, just that, you know, the Kadampa Geshes, they're very great practitioners and very humble. And what they always said was, they said, in this day and age, you need to keep 3 secrets. Keep 3 secrets. One is your own qualities. 2, other people's faults. And 3, your plans for virtuous activities.
You should keep them quiet.
Yeah, keep it a secret. Yeah. So anyway, but anyway, the faults of the qualities of a student, you need to have this kind of humility that then sees like, okay, you know, and this is actually why we prostrate at the beginning of a teaching too, right? It's like, okay, I'm coming here because I'm not perfect. I don't know everything. I have suffering, I have problems that I want to deal with. And I see the Buddha as being you know, a reliable guide that can help me become the kind of person I want to become, right? And then paying that homage, even just, you know, bending the slightly like this, is kind of, okay, you make yourself open to learning and open to transformation, okay? So that's one thing I want to say.
Can you please name me that book about the good qualities of a Dharma student? Any book?
Yeah.
Which we beginners can go through so that we can cultivate some good.
Yeah, okay. So the actual, the root stanza is from Arya Deva's 400 verses, right? But in the Lamrim Chenmo, at the beginning, there's a section, a chapter on the qualities of the teacher, and the qualities of the student. So it'll talk about that.
Any translation, English translation available?
Great Treatise on the Stages of the Path to Enlightenment by Lama Tsongkhapa, published by Snowline Press, Ithaca, New York.
Part 1.
Part 1.
Volume 1.
Volume 1. Nice. Okay, but anyway, just to be complete about it, the qualities of a student is, you know, to have faith in the teacher and the teachings, yeah, to be intelligent, and here intelligent means, I don't care what kind of degrees you have on your wall, you need to be able to distinguish between what's a good explanation and a bad explanation, right? Good reasons for believing something and bad reasons for believing something. And the third is diligence in putting the teachings into practice. So this is important, right? Not just leave it as some, you know, intellectual thing you can impress people at parties with. Okay. Now, with the other people you mentioned having not derived benefit from here, yeah. So a lot of causes and conditions have to come in, yeah. But, and definitely, it is said that for us, actually more important than meditating and studying is taking care of karma, you know? So, as I think I mentioned yesterday with Lama Tsongkhapa's own life story, when he was teaching, he went away to do a retreat in Wolga in Tibet for 4+ years, where he did hundreds of thousands of prostrations, mandala offerings, reciting different mantras to purify his mind and accumulate merit, right? Because, I mean, the thing is this, right? The merit or the good karma is the cause of any kind of success. Whether it be getting the job, getting the girlfriend, getting a nice meal, getting an auto rickshaw on a busy day, yeah? So, no question, getting realization on the path also depend on our merit, right? So that's why, actually, in the monasteries, part of the reason why it takes so long is, okay, for example, in Dharmasala, there's a place where they do the same study program in 14 years, right? We take 18 to 26, because we have very long prayers. We recite Tara praises, the Heart Sutra. There's a lot more of this emphasis on purification and accumulation of merit, you know? So that's very important. But the last thing is, and this is general advice for you, we're getting a bit off topic, but I like your questions. But I just want to tell one story too, because it's not to criticize you either, okay? But there's this thought like, oh yeah, this person's been coming to the center for so long and they're still so angry and they're still so like this, like that, right? And then, oh yeah, they're not, you know, it's not working for them. Okay, so let me just give you a story that one of my teachers told me. So this is in a monastery in the West. I think in Australia, I'm not sure. Anyway, so there was one monk who was very unruly, had a very bad temper, and you know, just very difficult to be around. Yeah, like me. Okay, then this monk was this monastery was in the Theravadan tradition, and so every month or twice a month, maybe on full and new moon days, the local lay people would come and bring a meal and serve the sangha. Okay, so one time, you know, this monk was seen having an argument with another monk in front of the lay people, right? And then the lay people then went to the abbot and complained. Okay. So then, when that was going on, yeah, the lay person was just saying, oh yeah, then he was yelling, and he even swore to another monk, and it was in front of all the lay people, and the abbot was very like, oh my gosh, oh yeah, that's horrible, yeah, that's so bad. Okay, but yeah, so then after, so who was it? Then he said the name. And the abbot was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that guy. Oh yeah, don't worry about him. You should have seen him 4 years ago. Okay? You get me? Right? So, although we might see people at the center now, they still are like, you know, very unruly and misbehaving all the time. We actually can't just infer from that the Dharma hasn't worked for them. Because what were they like before? We don't know. Okay? So, for most of us, it probably will take many lifetimes to make, you know, like real progress on the path. But these little things, this is what I'm saying, right? I mentioned yesterday, of the internal and external witness, we have to pay more attention to the internal witness, right? So we know how our minds are. Are we getting less angry than we were when we started coming here? Are we feeling more compassionate? What's going on in our minds? We know, right? But if we see that we're not getting, you know, more compassionate, our anger isn't being reduced, that doesn't necessarily mean that the Dharma isn't working. It could mean that our approach to practicing the Dharma needs to be examined. Okay? But even this thing, if we've been here and then if we complain like to our teacher that, oh, the Dharma's not working, that's one thing, right? But if we say, we can go to our teacher instead and say like, look, I've been trying to practice yet I still find some things haven't changed as much as I want them to. How can I practice differently? What else should I do? Even that shows a bit of humility, right? Rather than just blaming the medicine or blaming the guru.
Sorry for the diversion.
No, there's no such thing as diversion. Actually, I should be careful who I say that to. Okay, so there are many stories where people who have had very bad illnesses and so forth were able to heal themselves from meditation, right? You heard about these?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Even back in the actually, you guys.
I want to
please.
share one small experience very
Nice.
shortly
Okay.
regarding this.
Yeah.
I was working in AIMS and in neurology department, and I went to do a dressing for a lady. This lady was in her mid-30s.
Okay.
She was having multiple sclerosis.
Okay.
Because of that, most of her body was, she was bedridden for many years. She went into depression. She then committed some suicidal attempt also she did. After that, she came into Dharma. And she came in touch with some Buddhist practitioners and started doing loving kindness meditation. And after that, she started seeing her life in a different way. She was still having multiple sclerosis. She was becoming repeatedly admitted to hospital.
Okay.
But because of practicing the Dharma, her approach to her life and suffering has changed dramatically. And I was dressing her, and then she was telling me, she told me this particular sentence that after I started practicing Dharma, I have started chanting prayers for not only myself, but for the whole world, and this has started healing me.
Yeah.
And this was a very inspiring story for me, that how Dharma practice can heal oneself despite being within the suffering
Yes.
itself. Her disease hadn't disappeared, but her approach to the illness and her life, it had dramatically changed. I think this has something related to do with the approach to ultimate healing.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what we're trying to enact here. So did you hear that? The people at home? Anyway, that's the point, right? So without getting into repeating the whole story, sometimes this person had multiple sclerosis, right? So, very hard to cure the physical kind of manifestation of illness, right? But once we change our mindset, how we think about the illness, and once we change our mindset from worrying about us, oh, I'm sick, to considering the others with compassion, and considering how many other people in the world have situations and problems just like us, and actually some have even it much worse than us, and changing that orientation, then when the mind changes, our whole experience changes. And then it no longer becomes something, absolutely undesirable. And then we can even take that into our path toward ultimate healing, So, thank you very much. We're going to be, that was the point, how we can enact that. But you just stole my thunder, so. Okay, no afternoon session. No, I'm kidding. No, but okay. So I wanted to just share. There's stories like this. There's many stories where there's been a really miraculous type of healing that has taken place. But maybe if you just read about it, then it doesn't really hit very well, right? Where you're always like, yeah, that's just them, you know, right? So I encourage you to go out and meet people, meet more people, and get some kind of first-hand experience. I did just want to share one kind of first-hand experience that I've had, that I use as a source of inspiration myself. So there's a student, also a student of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. She's French, and for a long time she's had a very bad heart condition. Yeah, so from when she was young, in her 20s. And then she met Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who gave her, okay, the first time they meet, she didn't mention anything about her health problems, but Rinpoche says, yeah, I know you've had a lot of health problems. And can you imagine hearing this from your teacher the first time you meet? He says to her, you have to be very careful that you don't die in your sleep. Okay? You have to be very careful not to die in your sleep. Alright? Okay, so anyway, why that's the case is the type of birth we take, okay, as long as we're not liberated or enlightened, the type of rebirth we take is going to depend on the last thought, whether it's virtuous or non-virtuous. If we're sleeping, we don't have control about what, virtue or non-virtue is happening, so then we don't have much control over our next rebirth, right? Okay. So she then took this to be very literal, and then she basically almost gave up sleep entirely. Okay? And she engaged in very fierce and intense purification practice and accumulation of merit. She did years and years of retreat. And the doctors, they had said she'd probably die by the time she was 30. But she's now, is it not nice? Okay, I didn't tell you who it is, so I can say her age. She's now in her mid-40s, and she's still alive. And actually, because she's practiced, so intensely, she now, teaches and leads retreats and does all these kinds of things, right? So this is what I was saying with a wholesome fear, right? It can very much motivate us to practice. Sometimes this kind of just shows my mind, but at one time I was thinking oh yeah, wouldn't it be so nice if my teacher told me I had a terminal illness? Do you guys ever think like that? Huh? I'm weird. No, but do you think like that? Nah. I mean, can you imagine? If maybe that's a good exercise for us all to do, right? If we were told we have 1 year left to live, I think Stephen Levine does a kind of course like this. But if we were told you have 1 year left to live, how would you change your life? Then the point kind of is, well, do that, right? Then just do that. But see, death is in terms of getting our priorities straight, the thought of our impending mortality is the ultimate reminder, Because in light of death, it's how many of the things we do on a day-to-day basis actually are going to matter, Okay. Do you have a tea break coming up? Huh? Okay, and then on a more, then a story from last night we did practice about Avalokiteshvara. Yeah, we recited Om Mani Padme Hum. Then as you guys know, or maybe as you guys don't know, but the Noonday practice, do you know this practice, Noonday? Noonday? Huh? Yes. Nice. Okay. So it's a kind of a fasting practice in relation to Avalokiteshvara. And the kind of lineage holder, or the origin of this practice is actually coming from an Indian bhikshuni. We call her Gelongma Palmo. Yeah? You know her? Okay, it's okay. Yes. So anyway, she had leprosy. And then doing this Nune practice where basically you have one meal one day, and then the next day you don't eat, you don't drink, you don't talk. And you do all this, the purification practice and recitation of Om Mani Padme Hum. It's a very, very, very powerful practice. It is said that doing, so there are these 2-day, like one Nune is 2 days. And it says doing this 2-day practice is the same as doing like a 3-month retreat in terms of its efficacy.
But you have to keep yourself in isolation then.
Well, what do you mean by isolation?
You can't do it at home.
You can do it at home. Yeah. As long as you're not talking, you know. We tried to do this in Bangalore, but then people were like, you know, it'd be hard to get home afterwards. We don't have a residential place, right? You know. But yeah, you can do. They do up in Dharamsala every, well, the 4th lunar month of the year. So, anyway, look into it if you're interested. It's a very, very, very good practice. Anyway, so she was able to heal herself from leprosy. Anyway, so many stories like that. The mind becomes, it's scientifically proven that the mind becomes sharper and the attention becomes better after the consumption of caffeine. So we're going to have a tea break now. And we'll make a deal that we'll come back in 12 minutes.
11.
We'll come back in 12 minutes, and then you guys will have increased focus, and then we'll continue with our talk. Okay?